We will now begin the meeting. Today, we have with us the Chairman and Commissioners of the National Diet of Japan Fukushima Nuclear Accident Independent Investigation Commission, who have been formally appointed by the Speaker and President of both houses. I serve as the Chairman of the Joint Council of the Bicameral Committees on Rules and Administration. My name is Tadamasa Kodaira. I take this opportunity to deliver some opening remarks. I would like to take this opportunity on behalf of the Joint Council to thank the Chairman and Commissioners who have kindly accepted the important mission to become part of the Nuclear Accident Independent Investigation Commission. As is well known, the Fukushima nuclear accident is an unprecedented nuclear disaster not only for Japan but for the whole world. Still, as we speak, several people are forced to stay evacuated. We need early resolution of the accident. At the same time, the causes of the accident need to be elucidated in order to come up with effective measures for prevention of nuclear accidents and damage mitigation. These are urgent issues, and this is what we are responsible as we have accountability to the people of Japan, including victims, as well as to the international community. That is why the Diet unanimously agreed to establish the Nuclear Accident Independent Investigation Committee as the third-party organization comprising of professionals for the first time in the history of parliamentarian democracy. At the Bicameral Joint Council, we thought about the balance of the fields of expertise and recommended commissioners and chairmen who we thought would be best fit. You will be conducting your investigation for approximately 6 months, and on behalf of the Joint Council, I would like to take this opportunity to share with you the expectation which is common to all political parties. First of all, at the time of enactment of the law to establish this commission, we agreed upon 3 items at the Committee on Rules and Administration of each house. First of all, the Diet is the supreme body of the national authority, and taking into consideration the objective of identifying the causes of the accident in a super-partisan perspective, first of all, the parliamentarians must not take advantage of the Commission for political purposes from partisan perspectives and must not impose political influence over their activities. Secondly, taking into consideration the importance of the mandate, the Commission must pursue objective investigation of identifying the causes so that it is ensured that there is no skepticism whatsoever with regards to political neutrality of your activities. Thirdly, you must take into full consideration the professional status and duty of the witnesses and interviewees that you interview. So those are the 3 points that we have agreed upon. Next, I would like to speak about the agreement that we have reached at the board meeting of the Committees on Rule and Administration Joint Council on fundamental policy in establishing this commission. There are 6 items. First of all, this has to be done by professionals in an objective, scientific, and independent manner. It is not a matter of concluding whether to ban or promote nuclear power generation. Through objective and scientific investigation, we need to learn the history that had led us to this accident and evaluation of risk and cost of nuclear power generation, the safety and economic viability of nuclear power generation, so that those recommendations can be used as we form future policy on nuclear power, so that it would be of some reference to other parts of the world as well. Secondly, disclosure. So far, there has been criticism over the secrecy of the investigation in the area of nuclear power generation, and we, the legislature, must respond to the right to know of the people, and therefore the fundamental rule is thorough disclosure of all information, but ultimate objective is identifying the causes. So we wish that the Commission consider the methodology of disclosure so that this ultimate objective not be undermined. Thirdly, to have a global perspective. The issue of nuclear accident is not limited within a border of one country. It is a problem shared by all parts of the world. We need to tap on the lessons learned from Three Mile Island and Chernobyl. Further, there are more than 440 reactors around this world, and therefore fact-finding of Fukushima is something that we are accountable to the international community. There are many obsolete reactors, and at the same time, there are several plans, mainly in emerging countries, to establish new power generators, and therefore the impact is not limited within a border of a country. To prevent resumption of accident in the future, we have to pursue investigation, bearing in mind the benefit that it would have to mankind. Fourthly, human security. Conventionally, focus was placed on structural safety of nuclear reactor, but what needs to be protected is human health, human safety, and environment. Chernobyl and Fukushima has reminded us of the great impact that low-level exposure may have in the mid to long run to people's lives and health. So by tapping on the latest wisdom in medicine and physiology, we need to investigate the impact from the perspective of protecting the health of the people. Fifthly, to bear in mind that this is a nuclear power station in an earthquake and tsunami-prone country. We are one of the countries with the highest number of earthquakes and tsunami. We were reminded of that fact, so please mobilize the state-of-the-art wisdom in seismology and science of tsunami. Sixthly, investigation comprising of recommendations that would lead us to a better future is sought. We decided to establish this private sector commission under the Diet, which is the first endeavor in the history of parliamentary democracy. And this will be a good opportunity to once again confirm the role of the Diet under the system of independence of the three branches of the government. And with this, I conclude my explanation on the shared thoughts of all political parties, which is a consensus of ourselves. Hereinafter, we will hear from the chairman and commissioners their remarks, and then we will give the floor to the representatives of political parties. This is going to be the first and last chance for each political party to convey their messages to the Commission, and therefore please make use of this opportunity. Thank you. Thank you very much. Let me explain the procedure of this meeting. First of all, we will hear from the chairman and commissioners their remarks regarding their appointment. Thereafter, there will be comments made by representatives of each political party, and then thereafter, we will once again give the floor to the chairman. Any speaker will have to obtain the permission of the chair beforehand, and we ask the party representatives to finish within the allocated time. Now, we call upon the chairman and commissioner. First of all, Chairman Kiyoshi Kurokawa, please. The floor is yours. Chairman Kodaira, this is the first endeavor in the history of parliamentary democracy. You mentioned 6 points. But it was only recent that we were communicated of this mission, so we are struggling to come up with the best way of proceeding with this mission and how we should form our organization. Having said so, however, I already have certain views on this commission. First, it's about the people. Second, it's about the future. And thirdly, it's about the global perspective. So these are the three perspectives I have. First of all, this mandate is given to us by the people to do an investigation of the activity. The Diet has been elected by the people. You've been mandated by the people. So we've been mandated by you who've been mandated by the people. So it's investigation of the people, by the people, for the people. And secondly, this is about the future. We cannot talk about the future without knowing the past. So any recommendation toward the future will have to be based on where we are today and by learning from the past. And therefore, we have the responsibility to do the investigation completely independent from the government, from the administration, and from the industry. And thirdly, the global perspective. The world has become global. Japan, at least, is an advanced country, and from the history of being an economic power, we need to know how this policy came about and why the illusion of nuclear safety was created. But this is something that could be repeated because there's so many reactors around the world. There are plans for construction of new reactors. Some of these were built 40 years ago, but we would have to look back in history and identify the historical problems that had led to that accident. And by investigating the damage, we want to offer some food for thought for better designing for any new reactors to be built in the future. And also, we need to contribute to the contingency plan making if something happens in Japan as a contingency in the future, and also what responses are necessary when radioactive material is actually released. Such knowledge must be shared with transparency with our colleagues around the world, and that should lead us to be able to gain confidence from people around the world. We must tap on the wisdom that exists on this globe in order to come up with a better and safer nuclear power station, and also come up with wisdom on what could be done in contingencies. So the fact that this process was started up is a proof that the legislature is well functioning, and therefore we, the commissioners, will work in solidarity to live up to your expectations. For example, what did the U.S. do in the case of 3 Mile Island? What did they do after 9/11? What are U.S. and U.K. doing on the occasion of the BP leakage? And what was done when there was an eruption of BSE? These crises have occurred, and the world is watching us as we try to investigate the cause of this accident. So we want to live up to those expectations. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next, Commissioner Katsuhiko Ishibashi. My name is Ishibashi. I'm a scholar of seismology, and I've always been concerned that there could be a nuclear power station accident on this earthquake archipelago of Japan caused by major earthquake or tsunami. So this accident is extremely regretful for myself as such. But by chance, I've been appointed as a commissioner of this commission, and I will work my best, very best, so that this kind of mistake will never happen nowhere in this nation nor in the world. My contributions may be humble, but along with the strength of my colleague commissioners, we hope that we can come up with something that could serve as a great lesson to improve safety against earthquakes in all facilities around the world. For 1 hour after 1446, March 11, what happened in Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power station, that's my professional interest. This is a fact that has not been fully elucidated yet. And what about the situation immediately prior to that? What was the strength of the plant against earthquakes and tsunami prior to the eruption of the quake? That is probably where the problem lies. But the answer to that question is dependent on a long historical time span, and therefore that long time span will have to be investigated. We must not allow any prejudice. We must not exclude any possibility in order to truly find out the facts. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Next, Commissioner Kenzo Oshima. My name is Oshima, appointed as commissioner for this commission. The Fukushima Daiichi nuclear accident is receiving attention not only from within this nation but from all around the world because of the size and the impact, and people are watching how we can elucidate the facts and how we can come up with measures to prevent another mistake from happening. I understand that it is the first ever attempt to establish this kind of independent investigation commission, and I'm truly feeling the heavy burden on my shoulders as a part of this commission. I'm not fully aware of the reason why I have been appointed as a commissioner, because I have no specific expertise on matters concerning nuclear power station or radioactive contamination. However, there might have been two factors that had led to this appointment. First of all, I used to be a bureaucrat of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and early this century, I was seconded to the United Nations Secretariat, and for 2.5 years, under the then Secretary General Kofi Annan, I was involved in humanitarian projects. And as part of my duty as such, I was given the role to coordinate under the United Nations headquarters the various humanitarian aid to the victims of Chernobyl. And because of that duty, I had the opportunity to make contacts to the government authorities of Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine, and there were many occasions where I visited these countries. Another factor is the fact that I was born in Hiroshima City. There's an organization called High Care, mainly established by the prefecture and city of Hiroshima. High Care is an acronym of a long full name, Hiroshima International Council for Healthcare of the Radiation Exposed. This is an organization that provides medical assistance to A-bomb victims, especially the A-bomb victims who are residing outside of Japan. And since I happen to be from Hiroshima, I serve as the board member of High Care. And recently, High Care has struck a cooperative agreement with IAEA based in Vienna and are expanding its activities. So based upon such humble experience, I hope that I can make some contribution to this commission. For me personally, this is a too heavy burden for me to bear. That is my gut feeling. However, now that I've been appointed, I will exert all of my strength so that I would be able to live up to the expectations. The ultimate report that this commission would be coming up with must be strongly supported by objectivity, scientific knowledge, and professionalism, and should be something that would be credit-worthy on global basis as well. So in order to come up with such trustworthy report, we wish to produce something that would be useful for future generations, and I believe that that is the mandate given to this commission. Under Chairman Kurokawa and with my colleague commissioners, I will do my very best. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Commissioner Hisako Sakiyama. My name is Sakiyama. I've been appointed as a commissioner because I am a radiologist. So rather than elucidating the cause of the accident, I believe the mission upon myself is impact to health. But this is to be discovered in the future. We must identify how radioactive material had been released and dispersed, but there is no accurate data being made available. So first we need accurate data to be produced by the relevant parties, and based upon such accurate data, we need to come up with a scenario on what health problems we foresee. And we have to look at the experiences of Chernobyl and the health studies that have so far been done on victims exposed to dosage in the past, and to come up with measures to prevent any future health problems from occurring. And is the current health check being done truly sufficient? My impression is that the health check is not gaining the confidence of the prefectural residents, and we must question the appropriateness of the methodology of health checks. We need to come up with the best possible way to prevent any health problems from happening, and I think that's the important mission given to myself personally. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, Commissioner Masafumi Sakurai. Thank you very much. My name is Sakurai, appointed commissioner. Once again, I'm reminded of the heavy responsibility that have been given to myself. As you can read from my CV, I'm someone who had lived in the world of law, not science. And from that perspective, I think I do have a certain understanding of the significance of this commission that has been established under the Diet for the first time in history. That will always be kept in my mind as we embark upon investigation. I would like to focus on 2 points from that perspective. As you can see from my backdrop, I've always been involved in the finding of facts. Before any judgment is rendered, if there is any mistaking in the finding of facts, the evaluation could go wrong. That applies to Public Prosecutor's Office as well as the Office of Legal Compliances of the defense authorities. Secondly, peace of mind and safety. Safety is about technology and science and scientific analysis. However, when it comes to peace of mind, science is not enough. We have to take into full consideration the mindset of the people. So we have to pay due care not only to physical safety, but the peace of mind, or else we will not be able to ensure full functionality of the people's lives and communities' lives, neither in Japan nor on this globe. I have hardly any knowledge on science, but I will do my best so that we can communicate what we need to do in order to ensure peace of mind and physical safety. There are professionals in other fields who are colleague commissioners, and I'm most happy to be given this opportunity to serve as a commissioner for this important mission.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Koichi Tanaka. I am Koichi Tanaka. My area of expertise is analysis and measurement. I am not an expert of nuclear energy. However, in order to analyze and resolve the issues that have been caused by the nuclear accident, all possible academic expertise and technology will have to be deployed. I have studied the objective of the Commission. The objective is to analyze what happened in the accident, what the cause was, and to recommend measures for improvement, in particular regarding the proposal for improvement. In order to mitigate the damage in the event of accidents, the policies or the measures are to be recommended. That is the objective. The deepest concern felt by all the Japanese people, including myself, is most probably the risk of developing cancer, and that the risk rises. As for myself, within a nationwide project, I am trying to contribute to drug discovery and diagnostics. For myself and what the people around myself may be limited. However, all the people in Japan, all the people in the world wish to eradicate the hazard of cancer, or even if you are diagnosed with cancer, you want to feel more assured. Efforts are ongoing to deal with cancers. Therefore, what can be done for the future, what can be done right now to prepare for the future, I hope to issue some kind of recommendation that would allow all of us to have a hope towards the future. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Mitsuhiko Tanaka. I am Mitsuhiko Tanaka. The role expected of myself, I presume, is just like what Professor Ishibashi mentioned. The earthquake occurred on March 11, 2:46 p.m., and until hydrogen explosion occurred, or if explosion had occurred in unit number 2 or not, I think it is to analyze the process of the accident. What happened, what triggered, what incident inside the reactor. I think to analyze what actually happened is expected of myself. At the moment, the government of Japan has sent the interim report to the IAEA. The other day, the interim report by TEPCO. And there is the report after the accident. I have read the reports. They say decisively that the direct damage of the earthquake was not that serious. However, from my perspective, it is not based on any scientific grounds. As for myself, of course, I do not have any prejudice. I should not have any presupposition. However, both earthquake and tsunami occurred. How to deal with nuclear safety in the future in Japan, I think the viewpoint and the countermeasures will change fundamentally. So that is the area that has to be analyzed rationally without prejudice, and in a cool-headed manner I shall try to analyze. But after all, our enemy, or the reality, or the truth, is in the darkness. I mean, the reality is in the containment vessel that is at place for many years. Man, robotics, camera cannot enter. So what has happened in that darkness? We only have the data. We can only estimate from the outside of the containment vessel. It will be time-consuming. However, I will learn from the available reports. I hope that a high-quality, objective report shall be prepared. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Shuya Nomura. Thank you. I am Nomura from the Law School of Chuo University. I have just been appointed as a member. My area of expertise is company law. I conduct researches in the area of corporate governance. And because of that background, so far as a lawyer, I do have the experience of investigating corporate scandals. I also have the experience of investigating problematic behaviors of public workers at government offices, or more recently, I have investigated the loss of pension records by the Japanese government. Based on those experiences, when there is an appointment by local government or by the central government, there are some areas where we cannot go any deeper. That is my painful experience. Now, this time, under the Japanese Diet, an investigation commission has been established. My personal feeling is, and as one lawyer, this is almost epoch-making. That is because we ourselves, the Japanese population themselves, are conducting the investigation. That is the meaning. As the member of the Japanese community, there is a right to know what the population wishes to know based on that foundation. But having said that, each and every Japanese citizen does not have the capacity to investigate, and therefore we are mandated by the population. Plus, you all have the right of Diet member to examine the government matters that will be deployed in order to analyze and find out the real facts. The trust by the population must be acquired. On top of that, we need to win the trust of the global community. That, I think, is the mission. of ourselves. But obviously, I am immature, unexperienced. My power is little, but under the leadership of Mr. Kurokawa, I will do my best. Thank you. Thank you. Commissioner Reiko Hachisuka. In Okuma town of Fukushima, there is Unit 1, 2, 3, 4 of the nuclear power plant. My home is within a radius of 4.3 kilometers, 5 kilometers from the power plant. I have just been appointed as a member of this important commission. I wondered if it was appropriate that I am included in the commission. However, I have evacuated from home and am living temporarily in a temporary housing in Aizu Wakamatsu. My voice, I hope, will be a representative of the entire Fukushima prefecture, not only Okuma, but if there are anybody in Japan who are suffering in the same way, it is my responsibility to send my voice representing all the suffering people to the members of the parliament. And therefore, although my power is tiny, I decided to take this appointment. Going forward, if there's anything hidden by the central government or by TEPCO, and on the morning of March 12, I evacuated. There are reports, but what is the difference between reality and the media? Why do TV reporters tell lies? That has been my feeling after evacuating in the last 8 to 9 months. I hope that the chairman and the commissioners will learn the reality, the truth. I hope that the reality shall be found out. I will also endeavor to investigate. I will do my best. Thank you. Thank you. The Commissioner Yoshinori Yokoyama. I am Yokoyama. I have just been appointed as the commissioner, and I really have a deep, special feeling. The reason is because, just like Commissioner Oshima, I also come from Hiroshima. At the age of 2 years and 10 months, I have experienced the atomic bomb. Fortunately, I was in a place 20 kilometers away from ground zero, but my home was at 2.5 kilometers from ground zero. After the war, after the atomic war, after the atomic bomb, lots of things happened. I have gone through all those experiences, and fate has brought me to deal with the investigation of the Fukushima accident, and that is why I have a very special feeling. Allow me to explain what my background has been and try to explain what I might be able to do. I started my career as an architect. Then, in the world of management consulting, I was making up strategies and implementing them for many years. After that, instead of architecture like what we can see and touch, I have now designed what is not tactile and what cannot be seen. That is, I have been doing social system designing, which is designing management system. What is social system? Whilst there are divided silos in the community, we try to connect the different areas and provide value to the ordinary citizens. That, I understand, is the profession, because this is my personal observation. There are not many other people who call themselves social system designers. From that perspective, although there are different opinions, from the perspective of an architect, there are many strange aspects, but that is not discussed. Therefore, I think I can provide that different perspective as an architect. Of course, it is important to delve into details piece by piece, but it is important to integrate the pieces into a whole scene. Based on the experience of the accident, what can we do going forward? It is important to create and establish a new framework of operation. That is the area where I wish to endeavor. In the handout, it says planning and promotion of Tokyo University EMP. Today's world is becoming very difficult to understand. There are so many things that happen which is beyond your experience. Everybody is facing something you do not understand. And I wanted to think how we can grasp the core. Programs are made, I am working day after night. So I do have lots of different experiences. I wish to bring those different experiences together and try to contribute to the final outcome. Thank you. Thank you. Now, the representatives of the political parties wish to comment. Therefore, I give the permission. Mr. Koji Matsui of Shin Ryokufukai of the DPJ. Thank you. I am a member of the upper house of DPJ. I am Koji Matsui. May I offer my comment on behalf of my faction? Mr. Kurokawa, the chairman, and the 10 commissioners, despite your busy schedule, thank you very much for accepting this very important appointment. As the chair mentioned, regarding the agreement at the Joint Council and the Committee on the Rules and Regulations, the basics have been explained, which I shall not repeat. However, even from our perspective, within the Japanese Parliament, in the history of parliamentary democracy, this is the first ever, plus all the factions of both of the houses unanimously agreed to set up this commission. The independence, the fairness, there is a big expectations. So, dear respectable commissioners, this is only half year. It is going to be a very busy time, but I will look forward to your investigation. A bit more specifically, 9 months have passed after the disaster. At this timing, why does the Diet need to conduct the investigation? It is exactly what Mr. Kurokawa mentioned. The government has started the investigation. The utility have initiated their assessment. However, since the Diet is the highest organ of state power and it represents the Japanese population, and therefore I sincerely hope that investigation will be conducted from the position of independence. As was mentioned by the members already, it is backed by the right of the Diet members to examine government matters, and therefore we wish to support your investigation. As for ourselves, as each and every member of the Parliament, this is a full-fledged investigation, the first in the history of parliamentary democracy. I believe that this is a challenge to us, that we can realize the reinforcing of the function of the Diet. The affected people are still suffering, and this is a responsibility not only to all the people who have been affected by the disaster, but to all the Japanese people. Earlier, the commissioners have told us their observation based on their expertise. On top of that, they told us their strong determination about their investigative activities. We will do our utmost to support your activity. In that regard, what is important is how to ensure an independent and highly professional investigative organization. As for the chairpersons and the commissioners who have been appointed today, within a limited time frame, rigorous and fair investigation has to be conducted. And therefore, what we have to do is to provide technical staffs to support you. Should we call them technical members, or should we call them investigative research staffs or secretariat? But I hope that you will utilize the human resources. We will try to prepare the environment required. Regardless of other factions or parties, we shall be flexible. There is no difference between the ruling or the opposition parties in the investigation, which was mentioned by the chair. As we agreed at the Joint Council, this would not be used as a tool for strife. The independence shall be respected to the maximum. Regarding the investigation, the utilities and the supervisory organs are criticized for their secretive way or the tendency to hide, which is called the nuclear village. And because of this closed village, the climate and culture of safety was not the top priority, and the risk management, which is required in emergency, will have to be fundamentally revised. A thorough disclosure is required. The meetings in in principle, will be held in public, but there could be different formats. In addition to public meetings, there could be additional preparatory meetings. The disclosure of the minutes, we hope that it would be easy to access by the people. Needless to say, it is going to be a limited period of half year. Preparatory hearings, interviews is important to accumulate fact-finding. That kind of quiet, basic, sober activities are the foundation of rigorous investigation. There are even international questions, skepticism, criticism over how the Japanese country dealt after the accident, and therefore I hope that there will be rigorous analysis so that international trust is revived, and I hope that the findings will be transmitted across the world. There are more than 400 reactors that are in operation in the world. Many of them are old. The accident has to be prevented, but even if accident occurs, with the latest findings in medicine and physiology, we must ensure the mid and long-term health and life of the people. The impact on ecology must be minimized. By making that kind of guidelines, we hope to return our gratitude to the international society who supported us after the accident. As the chairperson mentioned, nuclear accident damage will not be limited to one country. Using the wisdom of the world with the top quality, latest knowledge, analysis of the fact has to be conducted, and the findings should be shared across the world. And therefore, it is possible to invite international experts. If necessary, you should also visit overseas countries to conduct a field search, so to say. The mission of this commission is described in the section of Article 10 of the law. I shall refrain from introducing all other provisions. However, together with rigorous investigations, we ask you to come up with a recommendation. This commission is completely independent of the government and the related parties, and therefore you should be able to conduct a serious and full-fledged investigation. You have different areas of expertise, so in addition to the investigation based on your expertise, maybe you can go beyond your area of expertise. In a certain sense, a high-level scientific common sense might be derived, or based on the conscience, I hope there will be a comprehensive, holistic discussion. And by way of conclusion, once again, I would like to say that this kind of independent investigation by the Diet is the first ever in the history of parliamentary democracy. And we hope that there will be a thorough analysis of the cause and recommendations should be provided. Plus, I hope this will be a project that will lead to reinforcing the investigative function of the legislature. I have a big expectation to your investigative activities. On top of that, on behalf of the DPJ and going beyond all the factions, we will do our utmost in order that you will be able to fulfill your mission. Thank you for your attention.
On behalf of the Liberal Democratic Party Group of Independents, Mr. Yasuhisa Shiozaki of LDP. I'm most excited that investigation will be launched under this commission comprising of experts that are extremely on demand. And especially Commissioner Hachisuka, you're still in evacuation in Aizu Wakamatsu. And on behalf of the local residents that are still struggling, thank you very much for accepting the appointment. As Commissioner, we're most thankful for your efforts as such. Already, the chair and my colleague parliamentarians have mentioned much. But as one Diet member who sponsored this bill and as someone that had been involved from the very beginning, I would like to once again take this opportunity to share with you my thoughts on the significance of this commission. I believe that this commission will form a new way of democracy in Japan, and I position this as an experiment to test the self-purification function of the state. This was caused because of the failure of the state, failure of the government, and failure of the electric power company under the supervision of the government. And this commission is not comprised of parliamentarians, but is comprised of private sector professionals that have been appointed by Diet members to pursue objective and scientific investigation to come up with lessons that would be contributing to the prevention of another mistake. What is important is the independence from the government, from the nuclear industry, and from politics as well. So on all fronts, this is going to be the first ever trial in the history of parliamentary democracy. In hindsight, HIV induced by tainted blood products or financial bubble were all mistakes caused by the state, but never has the state conducted full investigation of the causes in order to come up with thorough lessons. But having experienced the very serious accident, this fact-finding experiment will be a trigger to form a new state here in Japan. That is how significant this mission is going to be. So, although 9 months may have passed since the earthquake, and although the launch of the activities of this commission is behind the launch of other government or private sector investigation committees, the significance is very, very important. We've been completely disillusioned by the myth on safety and inexpensiveness of nuclear power plants. So this has to be no off-limits investigation. But many of the nuclear policies were introduced when we, the LDP, had power. So we are partly to be blamed, and we must offer ourselves to the scrutinization, and we're determined to be questioned by the Commission. Now, independence is important. In the case of an ordinary government council, there's the practice of quote-unquote briefing to the relevant government agencies and industries, but you will be completely excluded and secluded from such impact or partisan or factionary political pressure. And the contacts you have with interested parties and Diet members will have to be reported to the Speaker and President. We already have this template ready. So if a stranger knocks on your door, you have to report to the President, which is the first ever rule that we have introduced. And you will never be forced to play on the scenario written by bureaucrats, as is often the case of government councils. There will be secretariats staffed by private sector members, and you can go on about your independent investigation and to conduct your own deliberations and come up with your own conclusions as a result of the investigation led by the chairman. As the Diet tries to come up with a new energy strategy, to come up with new legislation, we hope that you can provide us with good food for thought. At the same time, could this have happened only in Japan, or could this have happened in other parts of the world? Is nuclear power station within the control of human beings? These are some of the questions that our colleagues around the world have in their minds. So our accountability is not only towards the people of Japan, but to the international community. And after the causes are investigated, we should have made decisions. So first, this originally would have had to be done. And I think that first we need to proceed with this investigation before we make any decision on resumption of power plants or nuclear power plant export. The objective of your commission is fact-finding, so you are granted the right to investigate, and also Diet members' right to investigate state affairs is granted. NRC says that they want to see chronological data immediately after the quake. The mission of this commission is not finger-pointed. This has already been mentioned. However, on the other hand, what did the responsible people do, when, and what kind of judgment did they render? Those are some of the facts that you truly need to find. And based upon the results of your investigation, please come up with good recommendations. And even if you question a decision that has already been made by the Diet or by the government, please do not hesitate to question those already made decisions and identify those questions within the recommendations. Lastly, so far the basic policy of the Nuclear and Industrial Safety Agency was to protect the industry or protect facilities under its nuclear policy, but other regulatory bodies of other countries around the world have within their mandate the protection of human health, natural environment, or national security. And it is very obvious that those were not protected because of the radioactive contamination. So you must place human beings at the center of your investigation to come up with those lessons so that we can use them to form a new Japanese society. Thank you very much. Mr. Otohiko Endo of the New Kemeito Party. My name is Otohiko Endo of New Komeito Party. Chairman Kurokawa and commissioners, thank you very much for accepting this very important but extremely difficult mission. I offer my deepest gratitude. And I've been listening to your remarks on your determination as you embark upon your activities. I was most encouraged and I'm most happy to see this dream team come into reality. Already, our chairman has conveyed to you what agreements we reached amongst parliamentarians. But at the risk of repeating what's already been mentioned, I would like to mention what is important. Please sympathize with those who have been affected by the accident. As mentioned by Commissioner Hachisuka, we, the member of the House of Representatives and members of the Committee of Rules and Administration, went to Fukushima. Mayor of Namie said that the people have been deprived of the hometown, their platform of livelihood, they have been deprived of their future, and they've been pushed off the cliff into the depth of despair. Those were painful words. So please have contacts with the affected people as early as possible and go on site visit as early as possible. And as was already mentioned at the outset, this commission is not about concluding whether we should be pro-nuclear power plant or anti-nuclear power plant. Your mission is to evaluate the risk and cost from scientific and objective perspective, and this is going to be serving as the platform of future nuclear policy, so that is going to be of great importance. Once again, we were reminded of this country being an earthquake and tsunami-prone country. The Japanese archipelago exists on a geophysical singular point. This has to be kept in mind. And in relation to nuclear power station, the Nuclear Safety Commission conventionally had the view that the mainstream theory is that although a catastrophic event beyond assumption, the probability of such cat event is not zero, but because the probability is extremely small, that they not need to be taken into consideration, and that had led to this accident. So that's another point that you need to investigate further. So far, the structural safety had been the focus in the area of nuclear safety. However, we should also pay attention to low dosage health problems, which is more risky for the people. And also, there are diverse views amongst the researchers and scholars on this matter, which is agitating the anxiety of the people. So we truly hope that you could collect state-of-the-art knowledge and come up with guidelines. We would especially welcome new findings at the DNA level and molecular biology. And also, global perspective is important, so please make full use of the lessons drawn by Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island. The Committee on Rules and Administration of the House of Representatives recently went to Chernobyl, and we found that the situation there is extremely different from what we hear in Japan, and that the damage is deep and wide in terms of spatial area. And there's a wide gap between what the reality is versus what the international organizations are saying. So please draw lessons from Chernobyl and 3 Mile Island. And further, we need to also think about what would be the best international regime for nuclear safety. This could be an area where Japan could make international contributions, so your input is very much welcomed towards that direction. We also visited IAEA, and next year in summer, July or September, they have plans to hold a major international conference on nuclear safety, and they want to use your report as a major input. So the whole planet is paying attention to your activities. Lastly, the Japanese academia and science and technology people are in silos. They are only interested in their own field. There's no exchange between fields in a crossover manner. This is the major backdrop that had invited this accident. So what we're asking is not closed intelligence, but open intelligence, so that we can come up with nuclear policy that is worthy of wisdom of mankind. Thank you. Thank you. I will take over Mr. Kodaira to serve as the moderator. My name is Yosuke Tsuruho. Now we will continue with the representatives of the political parties. Mr. Kenichi Mizuno of your party, thank you for the kind introduction. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the chairman and the 10 commissioners for accepting this huge mandate. And at the same time, I would like to convey to you that I have high expectations to the work you will be producing. There's already the Government Investigation Committee on the accident at the Fukushima nuclear power station, but the Diet has separately established this commission, which in itself is of significance. I do understand that sincere efforts are being made by the Government Investigation Committee members, and we have all respect to their activities. But then, on the other hand, there are questions to the responsibility and response by the government. And there are voices who question the neutrality as well as the trust in placing such an organ under the government. So in this context, with the consent of all political parties, we've decided to establish this independent investigation commission under the parliament, the Diet, which is of great importance. And also, your commission is with legal grounds. If a party resists submission of documents, or if a document is partially concealed by black ink, then we can rely on the Diet members' right to question state affairs and exercise the right to have them submit those documents. So if any of your commission members feel that it's necessary for us to exercise those rights, then please do not hesitate to request the parliamentarians to exercise those rights. Today, the representatives of the political members are given this opportunity to offer our views, but we will be subject to contact limitations. More precisely, we are subject to reporting and notification if we make contacts with you commissioners. So in order to ensure that you can go about your own investigation, we will be limited in terms of making contacts with you. So this may become the last opportunity for ourselves to convey our views. So please understand our intentions, and please work hard to come up with high-quality report so that we can live up to the accountability to the people, to the future, and to the whole planet. We're looking forward to reading your report in 6 months' time. And that concludes my comment. That was Kenichi Mizuno, member of the House of Councillors. Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Kensho Sasaki, Japanese Communist Party. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I take this opportunity to say a few words on the occasion of the launch of the National Diet of Japan Fukushima Nuclear Accident Independent Investigation Commission. The Great East Japan earthquake occurred on March 11, and all power sources were lost at Fukushima Daiichi, and the plant went to the status of core meltdown. And thereafter, with the hydrogen explosion after loss of all cooling power, a huge amount of radioactive material was released into the atmosphere, and contaminated water was released into the sea. So worst ever disaster occurred beyond Chernobyl. The responsibility of the government and TEPCO is very grave. We need to see resolution of the accident to protect the people from the damage and contamination of radioactive material, and to have measures never to make the same mistake. We need to identify the reasons. TEPCO, who is the perpetrator, still does not make all the documents available. The government is also negative in terms of information disclosure, and the Government Investigation Commission's legal grounds are still very ambiguous, and they're continuing their investigation behind closed doors, and they don't even make their minutes public. So the fact that this commission was established under the Parliament with the right of Diet members to investigate state affairs is of great meaning, that you are independent to identify the causes without any intervention from politics. Now, I would like to identify a few points that would be important. First of all, we need to see the actual situation with regards to the damage to the facilities caused by the earthquake and tsunami. What happened in Fukushima Daiichi? What was the response? What events developed therein after? Each and every details of fact must be found, and plant data and other facts must be collected, which will serve as the very basic platform to identify the causes. TEPCO continues to say that it was caused by the tsunami, and yet they've not made public all the seismic vibration data. Along with the damage of the plant, what was the cause of each damage? Was it the earthquake or the tsunami, or was it the hydrogen explosion? These are the points that need to be verified. And although there had been warnings raised in the parliament with regards to risk of power plants, nuclear power plants, and the need for response against extreme accidents, why weren't responses taken? And what was the basis of the design at Fukushima Daiichi upon construction? Those need to be verified. Secondly, after the accident, why didn't the government and TEPCO take responses based upon the Act on Special Measures Concerning Nuclear Emergency Preparedness? March 24th, member Yoshi of Japanese Communist Party requested submission of basic data with regards to the accident, but the government wasn't aware of the facts. And they were asked the question of issuing of the order of submission of report under the nuclear reactor regulation law. And then for the first time, after being questioned on April 25th, they asked TEPCO to submit a report. Why didn't they do that to begin with? TEPCO hesitated the submission of the accident response manual, saying that it's part of their intellectual property, and they submitted a document partially concealed with black ink. On the other hand, TEPCO Emergency Operations Center, which has no legal basis, was established, and a joint U.S.-Japan team was formed. But you should also verify the history behind the establishment of the team and what they were doing. Further, a speedy was not used to protect the safety of the people, and there was no guidance with regards to the use and supply of stable iodine tablets. And there was confusion over guidance on evacuation, which also have to be investigated. Lastly, on administration and compilation of nuclear policy. Although people asserted the need to separate the regulatory body between the promoting body, on the time of the agency and ministerial consolidation in 2000, the Nuclear Industrial and Safety Agency, NISA, was established under the Ministry of Economic Trade and Industry, which was on the position of promoting nuclear power plant. Why was that the case? And also, we need to also elucidate the facts in the politicians, bureaucrats, businessmen, and scholar cozy relations that have been promoting nuclear power stations based upon the 3 laws relating to electric power development under the Japan-U.S. Cooperative Agreement on Nuclear Energy, which formed the community of vested rights between power plant manufacturers, general contractors, banks, and the business circle. We truly hope that you investigate those matters. Thank you.
Mr. Ryoichi Hattori of the Citizens Alliance of Social Democratic Party. Thank you. Ryoichi Hattori of the Social Democratic Party, Chairman Kurokawa, members of the Commission, thank you for accepting this appointment, which has a historic importance. It is presumptuous of me to comment before the respectable, knowledgeable members, but if I may, I would like to explain my awareness about the challenge. We believe that this was a man-made accident. TEPCO and NISA, that was supposed to supervise TEPCO, had the recognition that the assumed height of tsunami should be heightened. However, countermeasures were not taken, and that fact was hidden. GE Mark I reactor was known to have defects. There was aging, obsolescence, and warnings about that were ignored. And therefore, a preventable accident was caused. On top of that, after the accident, there is a huge responsibility that they allowed the spread and increase of the damage. From the beginning, TEPCO and NISA obstinately denied that meltdown or melt through a serious event was occurring. They denied the fact of using the word of meltdown. In addition to that, TEPCO said that there was no serious damage by the earthquake and that the major cause of this accident was the loss of power due to tsunami. However, there are convincing analyses saying that rupture of pipings may have occurred, and even before tsunami, the coolant was lost, meltdown was initiated, and how can they say decisively that tsunami was the cause? What happened with the earthquake tremor? Please thoroughly investigate. Based on the knowledge gained already, they are already implementing new emergency measures. The revision of safety design evaluation guideline and the anti-seismic design evaluation guideline is ongoing. In order to decide the restart of the tested reactors, a stress test has been conducted, and the first assessment will be made public very soon. But what was the impact of the earthquake and tsunami in what areas? What was the progress of the accident? Without the knowledge, the equipment to be subject to analysis was made, event tree is made. This is not right. So this is a restart of actions without understanding the past trouble, and therefore it is highly likely that the same so-called beyond expectation accident will be repeated. What caused the so-called beyond expectation accident occurred? A thorough analysis is required. There were repeated warning. There were convincing warning, but there was a structural problem that ignored those assumptions. Manuals were totally useless. Disaster prevention measures did not function. That caused the accident to become even more severe. A speedy was not made public, and therefore people escaped to the direction where the radiation level was higher. So these citizens are angry, saying that this is nothing but a crime. How to give instruction for evacuation, the 20 millisievert of the school, the transitional limit for the food, raising upper limit of exposure of emergency workers. These are all other decisions made by the government where there is a skepticism about the validity. Rigorous verification is required. How were information communicated? How were information blocked? Who made the decision? Who made the judgment? What communication happened? It is not clear even as of today. There were inconsistent comments. There was delay in the judgment or lack of disclosure, which caused huge anxiety and anger. People have to live under the radioactively contaminated environment. This is the absurdity which people have no future or prospect of rebuilding. And many people have big questions. Already there is the government investigative committee. NISA, TEPCO are conducting their investigation. There is no committee in the private sector, but it is not worthless. It is meaningful to set up this investigation committee under the diet because this is the investigation by the people for the people. The primary purpose of this commission is to derive the lessons. But before that, the reality must be elucidated. Facts have to be found. At the same time, this should be an important implications as we prepare the energy policy for the future of our country. You all come from different backgrounds. I hope that you will utilize your area of expertise and knowledge. And even going beyond that, I hope you will discuss and debate with each other. I sincerely hope that will fulfill your very important mission. Thank you. The People's New Party Nippon, Mr. Yasuo Tanaka. Thank you. Today it is December 8th. This is the 70th anniversary of the war between US and Japan. I would like to represent the PNP. In the case of aircraft or railway accidents, the tragedy is limited to a certain place, time, and social group. But that is different with nuclear accidents. Geographically, in time, or land, sea, air, ground, underground, in the sea, the damage will continue to spread. In terms of the scope, concentration, accumulation, it is ever-changing. No color, transparent, no smell. This is troublesome because our human senses cannot understand it. In the 20th century, it was based on a materialism, based on infallibility, that there was no problem with scientific technology. But in the 21st century, it is an era of dematerialization. We need to have a perspective of fallibility, and we should go to technology, go beyond technology using science. At that time, Mr. Edano, the Chief Cabinet Secretary, repeated that there is no immediate impact, it is all right. And 9 months after that, Minister Goshi Hosono, in charge of nuclear affairs, is repeating the same. The government ordered the residents living in 20-30 kilometers radius of the nuclear power plant to stay at home, that they should obtain gains and supplies on their own. It was not the central government covering the expenses, and it was a voluntary evacuation. In the last World War, 70% of those died was due to the starvation due to malnutrition. That is the absence of the plan of logistics in Japan that is required to protect the life and the property. The executives of the utility remain in their position. Chairman Katsumoto of TEPCO is still silent. This commission is based under the parliament. The leaders of the relevant organizers, TEPCO government, they must be questioned about what decisions they made. Did they have the grit and the guts about the compensation, about accountability? There must be quick, accurate investigation to the world and to the country. Japan has now become the perpetrator of inflicting radioactive harm, so the findings must be reported. 122 years ago in Toskawa Nara, there was a big flood. The affected people moved to Hokkaido, Sorachi plane, and made the new Totsukawa town. TEPCO Unit number 1 correction, NAIIC plant had the meltdown. So this is an area occupied by radioactivity. At least a 30 kilometers radius must be no inhabitant area for the people who have to leave their beloved hometown. Their new home and new job must be guaranteed. This is the responsibility of the government legislation to protect the life and property of the people. There must be a temporary storage place within the national forest in Fukushima, and the interim storage will be placed within the prefecture for 30 years. Even the youngest cabinet member, Minister Hosono, he will be 30 years. After 30 years, most of the politicians would have retired. If the storage substances mix into the rain and if it flows out, it would be worse than Itai disease. Into Eternity is the film about Onkalo, Finland. It is still under construction. Sellafield in the UK is still going nowhere. Even as we speak, radioactive waste is being generated. There is no final disposal site across the world. So people will have to move out of the 30 kilometers radius. If the Fukushima zone does become the final disposal site, this would be the strongest security measure. Decontamination would not be a fundamental resolution that's been reviewed. If I dare say so, it is like cleaning your pretty car in Kagoshima whilst the eruption of the Sakurajima volcano is continuing. Innocent people and the STF people may be exposed to internal radiation. We are supposed to be a thinking read by Pascal. We should learn from the tragedy of pneumoconiosis and asbestos. Where will contaminated water go? If it goes into water, it will be a tragedy worse than Minamata disease. Governor Sato of Fukushima Prefecture used to be a member of the House of the Councillors. If population declines, local allocation tax will decline, so he does disagree about relocation. As one of the members of the legislature, by including cautioning myself, we should avoid empty theory, and the politics must function. Radioactivity was a great discovery, but there was no suspicion about science. But we have allowed a gremlin to be born in Fukushima. Chairman Kurokawa and the commissioners, please do not be an armchair detective commission. I hope that you will come up with a new formula. Thank you very much for listening to the comment of the People's New Party, a New Party Nippon. Sunrise Party of Japan, Shinto Kaikaku, Mr. Hiroyuki Arai. I am Arai. Regarding the last World War, there was no investigation by the Japanese people. In other words, there was no investigation by the Diet, which gives an outstanding issue, even as of today. And therefore, this is deeply significant that this commission has been established, which means that this is an investigation by the Japanese people. I have a very special feeling, and therefore, I thank all of you for taking this appointment. Japan suffered from the atomic bomb. And the Japan that suffered from the atomic bomb, once again, is suffering from this nuclear accident. The radioactive harm should not have happened, but it has happened once again. This is the reality. I have been a member of the Prefecture Assembly and a member of the Diet for more than 20 years. Since I lived in Fukushima, I promoted nuclear energy. That is because it would promote the local region, it would be in the interest of economy, employment, income. But by promoting nuclear energy, I did not fully verify the safety or the security on my own. I admit I am one of the person who created the so-called myth or the illusion of safety. That is why I need your investigation. The Fukushima population are frightened, they are anxious and worried about the radiation impact. We hope, and all the Fukushima people are hoping, that in the future there will be no people who will suffer in the same way. The Fukushima population, of course, have lots of feeling and different feelings, but on the whole, they don't know who to trust. We don't know what to trust. No future is visible. They feel blindfolded. Scientific numbers and psychological feelings are entirely different. That is what I have learned. Fukushima people feel they have done nothing wrong. And why do they have to suffer in that way? They simply cannot understand or swallow. The families, local community are collapsing because of anxiety and lack of compensation or lack of support. Families, local communities are really collapsing. We should not exacerbate the antagonism or division amongst the local residents. Life must be protected, health must be protected. In order to revive the human nature, the affected people are encouraging themselves, doing their utmost in order to continue their lives. From tomorrow and onwards, how should they live? Should they rebuild the location? How should they create the future of their children? They don't know how to do that, but everybody, they are literally whipping themselves so that they can live and continue to move forward. I wish that you will assess whether the option of nuclear energy as a political tool was correct. Is it really possible to ensure the safety of nuclear power plants both in Japan and outside Japan? Is it possible to ensure the security of the people? This is what I ask you to investigate. What exactly is human security? I ask you to investigate also with the perspective of the history of civilization. Once again, I express my deepest respect for you as you take your appointment. Based on the comments of each political parties, the floor is given to Chairman Kurokawa. As I listen to the comments of the commissioners and the representatives of the political parties, once again, I have painfully felt how important the responsibility of the Commission is vis-à-vis the Japanese population, to the Japanese Parliament, and to Japan as a member of the global community. I am full of anxiety whether we can fulfill the responsibility in terms of time or resources and others. I am worried. However, as I mentioned, basically we should investigate from the three axes of the Japanese population, the future of Japan, and Japan as a member of the global community. Let me explain my feeling at this moment. Today it is December the 8th. This is the 70th anniversary after the attack on Pearl Harbor. In the last couple of years, there are increasing number of TV programs introducing the voices of the survivors. Of course, there are historical documents about the people who have passed away, and therefore there were many special programs by NHK and other broadcasting stations. There will be more programs as of today. Some people testify that they wanted to say something, but they were suppressed from saying. And what can the people who have passed away do? They can no longer speak. And again, there was an NHK program. They interviewed many people regarding the nuclear accident. Some people were appearing on the TV with the title Before March 11. There are future programs by NHK. According to their comments, I felt it was very close to the comments of the survivors of the war. Don't you think so? I think the Japanese people also felt it intuitively. What is this all about is the whole question. Because When it comes to nuclear energy, this is a global challenge. On top of that, Japan was supposed to be an advanced economy. I mean, Japan is still an advanced country. So the question is Japan going to learn from the failure? Without learning from the failure, there will be no progress. I think the Japanese people are intuitively feeling this aspect. Why was the mistake repeated? I think with the 10 members, we will use all our wisdom, and we are wondering whether we can respond to the heavy mandate by the Japanese people. There are many restrictions, and as for myself, I think it's the same with my commissioners, but we are under such a pressure, and we will have sleepless nights. We need your support. We hope to play a role in this epoch-making milestone for the future of Japan that is open to the population. So this is a mandate by the Japanese population under the Japanese Parliament. The members of Parliament unanimously agreed to set up this commission. That indicates the historic importance. Plus, we are under a too heavy burden. We are literally staggering from the heavy responsibility because we have to respond. That, I think, is the bewilderment of the Commission. We will talk with you, we will consult with you. So how we investigate going forward, we hope to analyze the challenge and think about the awareness of the people. So I don't know how to conclude because I'm not supposed to thank you, but I will be seeking your spiritual and mental support because you are the representatives of the Japanese people. So we seek your continued cooperation. If I may, I would like to offer my conclusive remarks. Thank you for your participation. At this joint council, we are aware about the role of the Commission. As was mentioned, it is extremely important. Under that recognition, both of the houses will work together. All parties will prepare and start up the activities of the investigations, and we have recommended the candidates. You will be endeavoring in your investigative activities based on the comments by the political parties, and as has been agreed beforehand, there should be no political influence. You are in a neutral position. We look forward to a thorough and rigorous analysis of the accident, and according to Chairman Kurokawa's word, please do come up with a recommendation towards the future. At this joint council, today the chairperson and the members have been appointed officially. Therefore, going forward, our position is to carefully support you behind the scene. However, should you need the right to investigate government affairs by the members of parliament, please do file a request with the joint council. Then we shall exercise that right. Therefore, if you decide it is necessary, please do come with a request. I know it is very demanding because it is limited to half a year. I sincerely hope that you will endeavor to fulfill your mission. A report that can respond to the expectations of the Japanese people will be produced, is my hope. We shall fully support your activity, and this is my message. Thank you. The council is adjourned.